Okay, we are live. Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to a brand new movie review. I'm Chris Garner, joined tonight with Itzmoe to give our review on Justice League, which is the recent DC team-up superhero movie. And I don't have a George. I don't have a Tate. We know we don't have a Tate. He's in Austria. George couldn't get to this movie, unfortunately. So,
Aw.
very last minute, I reached out to you saying, "Can you help me with a review for this thing?" And thankfully, you said yes because we might have a balanced review with this one tonight. So, Itzmo, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Just running errands over here, and I entered a contest for my dream job, making videos in Cancun. If any of you guys want to help me out, so go to my channel. My latest video link is in the description if you want to vote for me. I'd really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
as I said, I'll put all your links in the description down below, so do check out Itzmo's channel as well. So this has been quite an infamous film, especially for me, like in the lead up to this one, because I was almost scared off doing a review for this one, especially on my own. DC fanboys out there can be very mean and are very passionate about what they like, and that's fine to be passionate about it, but it seemed like it got to a stage where if anyone had a slightly differing opinion than theirs, they would hail you with death threats and say you don't know what you're talking about and everything like that. So please, people in the comments, like, keep it as civil as possible. That's fine if you
Yeah.
don't agree with me. That's fine if you don't agree with Itzmo, whichever category you fall into. But please keep it respectful. I did want to open with that. So yeah, I mean, this is it. This is Justice League. This is where we're at following Man of Steel, BVS. You could argue Suicide Squad as well, and Wonder Woman. We'll go into a much more in-depth review later on. We'll keep it spoiler free at the beginning, and then we'll move into spoilers later. But just sort of initial opinions on this movie in the lead up. What did you think to this one?
Uh, well, first of all, I have to say, I went to the premiere, so maybe that on my computer. So yeah, I mean, I got to see it with, the cast and producers, super fans. So, we had a great experience. I enjoyed the movie. There were some things that stood out to me that were like, but overall, I enjoyed the movie. Like, there were negatives. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say the movie is perfect, but those negatives for me didn't ruin the movie for me. Also, if you want to watch my videos from the premiere when I met my love Henry Cavill, go to my channel as well. But okay, what stood out to me, and I said it in my non-spoiler review on my channel, was the CGI was not very good. And also, like, I feel like I'm not very good at telling when CGI is good or bad. So that's why I said when I can notice it, it must be bad, because I'm not very good. Like, for example, like in BVS, Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, obviously they use CGI for those, but me watching those movies, I couldn't really tell. Like, I mean, I could guess, but there were some shots that, like, if you would have told me, like, oh, that's CGI, I'd be like, wow, that looks so real, and not just those movies, but other movies that I've seen. Like, a random example is This Is the End. Okay, I love that movie, and there were some shots in that movie that when I was listening to the commentary, they were like, oh my god, this was CGI, and I was like, what? This looks real. So I'm not very good at telling when something's good CGI or not. So, like, if I noticed it in Justice League, it was pretty obvious, especially like some of the background sometimes. And so, like, yeah, if I can notice it, it must be kind of bad. And then Henry's yeah, that, like, every reviewer has brought that up because it was so obvious, and I felt so bad. Like, that, if it would not have been that bad if maybe it was only one or two shots, but seriously, I think it was like every single scene with Henry except one, I think, was with the mustache taken out. So that means most of Superman's scenes were reshot, and it kind of makes me wonder what did they take out? Like, what was so Snyderish about the other ones that, like, Joss didn't like them, or Warner Brothers? Because I'm one of those people that mostly like Zack Snyder's work. I know he's divisive too, but it makes me even more curious to see what Zack Snyder did, because it seems like they took out all of his Superman shots except like one. So yeah, yeah. So, but overall, I liked that. I thought Ezra was hilarious. I thought, like, the team dynamic was great. I thought, Ben as Batman was awesome. I love this. Oh wait, I can't. No spoilers. I actually, like, really like Cyborg. I wasn't sure about Cyborg because I didn't really know that much about him. But after watching this movie, I liked his story, and I felt, I felt for him, and it made me excited to see Aquaman. And then the end credit scenes, can't say, but I predicted one, and I wish Warner Brothers would compensate me for that. Because I gave the idea for the first one, and back in May I
I
posted
think
it.
I know which one that is. Yeah, you're talking
And
about.
I was like, and I have proof, I have screenshots. That I posted in my spoiler review of when I posted that in May. I said, wouldn't it be cool if it would end like this? And then it ended like that in the first end credit scene. And I was like, are you kidding me? I said for them to do that. And they did then the reshoot. So obviously that was after my tweets.
So it's like send the check in the mail.
Yes. And then the other post credit scene I thought was really cool because it got me like excited for the sequel. Hopefully there will be a sequel.
Yes, hopefully, yes. We'll need to talk about that later with the fate of this movie, if you will.
Yes.
Before I get into my initial thing, I want to go back to the premiere that you talked about when you met all the cast. When I saw like you were uploading like videos and pictures of that, I was so happy that you actually got to meet your idol, because I remember us talking, was it on the Wonder Woman video, or I've seen you on like Facebook and things like that saying like, this is your dream to meet Henry Cavill one day. And I'm really glad that you got to do that. That must have been an absolute dream come true doing that. So congratulations on that. Now I'm going to be the harbinger of doom now, because this is my review time now. And I didn't like this movie at all. I thought it was a mess pretty much from beginning to end. But I will say, although I disliked this movie, I didn't hate this movie. If I go back to when I went into Man of Steel and I saw all the trailers and it looked incredible, and I came out of that movie so crushingly underwhelmed and confused at what I just saw, and I was angry at like what they'd done to the Superman character. I thought Cavill was absolutely great, and that's one thing that I can say for all the DC films that have come out so far. The casting has been phenomenal. I just wish they were in slightly better movies than what they've been in. Batman v Superman, I disliked both the theatrical and the ultimate cut was slightly better. I will agree with that, but I still didn't care for that movie. I don't want to like harp on DC too much with my review, but that's sort of like my mindset going into this one. Loved Wonder Woman, absolutely loved Wonder Woman. That would probably be in my top 3 movies of this year, and that's something that neither of those 2 movies or this movie, Justice League, can take away from that. This was just a mess to me, and I think a lot of it stems from the fact that I think they said about half of this movie was reshot, and it felt like Warner Brothers are just being really reactionary pretty much with all of their movies that come out. It seems like every movie that comes out is kind of somewhat of an apology to the previous one that came out. Like with Man of Steel, everyone talked about the collateral damage in it, and like Superman had no consideration for human life in the end battle. We get to Batman v Superman, and like every 2 seconds they're saying this city is deserted, we're fighting in a deserted place now. And it just seems like everything after that. And then people talked about the really dark and somber tone of Batman v Superman, and you can tell that that had a knock-on effect with Wonder Woman. But we have to remember that Justice League was in production pretty much either around the same time or right after BVS had finished, before Wonder Woman was even a thing, when it was being scripted and storyboarded and plotted by Zack Snyder and everything like that. So I think the studio looked at what they had, and they weren't happy with the tone. I think it would probably be a lot darker than is the final product of what we have now. And, you know, they brought in Joss Whedon to continue directing after the tragedy of Zack Snyder's daughter, which is fair enough, but it felt like a clash of tone. Joss Whedon is a very, very different writer and director to what Zack Snyder is. And it felt like the studio wanted to go for that brighter, more colorful, more accessible movie. Maybe, and I don't want to compare the two because I know I'll start a war zone, but maybe more like the mainstream Marvel movies. Maybe they wanted to give it sort of that like easy feel to it. We even get that with the soundtrack as well, and we'll talk about the music later on in our review. But it felt like it was a confused tone all the way throughout, and you could see that they'd kind of Frankenstein's monster almost, the footage they had, maybe a lot of it was reshot. And I mean, the film clocks in at about 1 hour and 59 minutes, which, you know, is 2 hours is a fair running time for a movie, but for your Justice League movie, and with how much this film was having to set out, I mean, not only was it a team-up movie, this was having to establish really Cyborg as a character and give us some insight into his past. The Flash as well. I know we've had the TV show, and that's a really popular TV show, so some people are probably already well acquainted with the Flash character, but in terms of most moviegoers, they probably haven't seen or don't know anything about the Flash. Aquaman as well. So you're having to juggle all these new characters. You're having to advance the storyline set up from Wonder Woman or Batman v Superman, as well as establish a new villain and a new story. And for a 2 hour running time, that's pretty much impossible. And we were actually talking about this before we hit live, that if an ultimate cut does come out of this movie, like, we'd be excited for that. Like, I think this movie, although you don't really need to make a 3 hour Justice League movie, to see that new footage, I do think it probably would enhance the movie that we've got in its current state.
Cool. Oh,
I went on a ramble right there. I apologize.
no, that's good. I was just letting
you know.
say your thing. I do want to show. I need to show it just because it was the best moment of my life. I made the picture of me meeting Henry. It's on my phone. It's the wallpaper on my phone.
Oh, nice.
Yes, because it's motivation for me. That dreams do come true. Never give up on your dreams.
That's true. That's true. We've had someone in the comments as well saying, "Lucky girl to meet Cavill. I prefer
Oh.
Ezra."
Yeah,
hopefully
I love
Claudia's
Ezra.
not too bitter.
Yeah, sorry. I give him gifts though. That's the thing. I was the only one that had gift for Henry. I had 2 gifts, one for him and his dog, and then the other one just for his dog. And then my other friend, he had a gift for Ezra. We were the only 2 fans with gifts, so we were the best fans, and that's why we both got selfies. Like, he got a selfie with Ezra, I got one with Henry. But Henry seriously took a photo with every single person that had a phone. He took the longest because he literally went to every single person with the phone. So
yeah,
he's a very stand-up guy. So are we gonna go into spoilers or not yet?
Not yet. I think we can still go into it. I've had my first hater in the comments. I knew this was going to happen at some point.
Oh, shoot.
Edevolution. I seriously can't stand Chris and his utter bias with films. I'm sorry that I have an opinion on this film. Okay, thanks, Eddie.
Oh my gosh.
We move on. What else do we want to talk about? So let's talk about the villain for a second, because I think you probably know a lot more about the character of Steppenwolf and things like that. But I found him to, and this, I've seen this in a lot of reviews as well. He is pretty much the stockest of stock villains you could ever have. I think even there's been a bunch of tweets, hasn't there? Like, people were tweeting at Joss Whedon saying that Steppenwolf is the worst comic book villain ever, like even worse than Malekith or whatever the Dark Elf was called in Thor 2. And he was liking the tweet, so it's obvious that even he really liked the character.
But that's messed up, though. Like honestly, for Joss to do that, that is messed up, because you worked on this movie. You had, like, Zach trusted you to work on this movie, and that's very, how do I say, like, low class. I don't know how to, tacky for him to do that. Like,
it's like, even if he doesn't like it, he should still stand by what he made, right?
Yeah, just shut up. Don't like a freaking tweet. Like, you worked on this movie. Like, that, I just thought that was very messed up for him to do that. Like, it would have been okay if he didn't work on this movie at all, but Zach, when Warner Brothers trusted you to finish this movie, and now I kind of think, like, was this was this like some kind of plan by Joss to ruin DC movies, to like come in and like ruin them?
It was an inside job.
Yes, because, like, why? I mean, I don't seriously think that, but I'm kind of made me suspicious now, because I'm like, why would you do that, dude? Like, it's just so rude. It's like rude, tacky. Why? No, you worked on this movie. You know, you have writer's credit. They trusted you. It's like, just, I don't know, for him to do that, I just thought that was really messed up. It's okay if you thought that.
Yeah.
Just shut up about it, because he worked on this movie. Like, I wouldn't trust him again. Like, I hope Zach doesn't trust him again for anything. It's like, oh, okay, so you didn't like the villain. Why did you work on my film then?
Yeah, we've just had a comment from Romero329 who says unprofessional on Joss Whedon's part. I'll agree with that. As we said, even if he doesn't like the character, that's fair enough, but don't come out right and say it, especially when you've directed and written the movie as well. But it's a shame because, I mean, I don't know who Steppenwolf is. I knew that he's like the father of Darkseid or something like that, and that was pretty much all I knew going in. I knew he had some kind of affiliation with Darkseid, which is clearly what they're building up to as the next big bad guy for this thing.
But I feel like it's not going to happen now. I feel like instead of, I don't think there's going to be any Darkseid at all. I feel like they kind of got rid of that, and now it's going to be Lex and Deathstroke in them, because they didn't even really mention, at least I don't think so, Darkseid in this movie. Like, they refer to him in
once.
BVS.
Yeah, he's name dropped again. Yeah, he's name dropped once in this, and actually, you know, when we this is like a, I guess, like a spoiler for the end of BVS, but when Lex goes into the ship and we see the mother box and
Yeah,
we see this silhouette of like an alien creature, I thought that was meant to be Steppenwolf because they'd be linking
me
right next
too.
into this one. But if you look at that, the design's completely different. So is that going to be Darkseid? But it doesn't really look like Darkseid because he's got this whole like antler thing going on. I really don't know what they're doing with it, but I honestly think with a better villain in this film and a more compelling villain, and honestly, we talk about DC, and DC seriously has some of the best villains in comic book history. Well, it has the best villains in comic book history, and it's just such a shame that you open with Justice League, your big team up movie, and you have a villain like this. And I'm not saying that Steppenwolf couldn't have been a good bad guy. I think that if you'd have given him more time, if you'd have
Hmm.
fleshed out his character more, because honestly, like the script for this character, you could write in your sleep. Like it's just like I'm going to take over the world. I want ultimate power, and that's it. That's pretty much all his dialogue, like wanting to stop the Justice League.
Hmm.
Um, and also the look of the character. Now, I know CGI has its place. I understand that for your big sweeping action scenes in a city, you're going to have CGI. But I
Hmm.
really hate the CGI on this character, and I think it's a case of they were probably down to the wire with the CGI on this one because of all the
Hmm.
reshoot, having to change the movie over. Visual effects don't happen overnight. It's a long, arduous process. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of money to get them looking top
Yeah.
class. And when you have a fully CGI character, it very rarely works. In the case of, like, say, Gollum with Andy Serkis or like Caesar and things like that, then usually it looks great, or Avatar or something like that, maybe. But this just felt rushed. It felt
But
like I was honestly watching a cutscene from the Injustice video games half the time.
hmm
And it's a shame.
yeah.
Like Kieran Hines, who does the character's voice of Steppenwolf, is a great actor. He's a great British actor.
Hmm.
And I honestly think it would have been better to just like slap him in loads of makeup and put him in armor and just have Kieran Hines on screen because it would have been that
Yeah.
tangible quality. It would have been someone in camera, in shot with the other heroes.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's like The Hobbit as well, when you went from like people in prosthetics in The Lord of the Rings and all the orc makeup, and then you get to The Hobbit and they're just like completely CGI motion capture, and it lacks a quality to it. Especially when the CGI isn't very good, unfortunately. And I think it's a shame because I was curious to see what Steppenwolf would be like. As it is, he's one of the most unmemorable characters I think I've seen in a long while in one of these superhero films.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Yeah.
do, do
I agree. The
you,
villain was yeah, again, the weakest part. But if I had to pick having weak heroes or a weak villain, I would. I'm so glad the heroes were good.
yeah.
Um. Then yeah, the villain. I actually like. Oh god. I feel like, but you know what? I feel like they still need to make Justice League 2 because I think the villains in there are gonna be so much better. I mean, we already know Lex, Deathstroke. Maybe they'll bring back Joker for the team, Harley Quinn. I think the villains in that one will be really good. So let's just wait, okay? That one's gonna be good. We'll have good villains and heroes. But yeah, like I don't. Yeah, but I don't know what's gonna happen with Darkseid. I feel like they're not really gonna do anything with him anymore. If like it doesn't seem
No.
like he's really gonna be in Justice League 2. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I agree with you. I think they should have just like had like the makeup and everything. And I just feel like Warner Brothers maybe should have just pushed the date. Like, yeah, I know fans would have gotten mad, but I would rather. I'm more of I'm a person. I prefer quality. So like,
Yeah.
if it means waiting longer for a better movie with better CGI, to me it's worth it. I'll wait 3 more months,
Mhm.
3, 4 more months, and then the movie's gonna look better. Henry's face will look better. It would have been worth it. Now it's like, I hope they fix it for the DVD, but or Blu-ray, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot of factors. There's not really one thing to blame. I think partly it's Joss, Warner Brothers. Well, maybe they're the two, and Paramount too for not letting Henry shave. You fools!
Yeah,
A lot of
right.
this would have been like avoided if Paramount would have just let him shave, and he could have grown it out. He can grow back out, freaking
Yeah.
Paramount. Why? Why did you have to be such jerks? Oh
I
my
was
gosh!
watching I was watching Red Letter Media's review of Justice League, and they say, which do you think is the most cost effective? Putting like a fake prosthetic like mustache on, like in makeup for Henry's movie, or spending millions of dollars trying to CGI off his mustache and like his entire lower face. I really
Yeah.
don't understand. I'm reading some of the comments now. Claudia says, apparently Warner Brothers gave Whedon 6 months, and we can see it. It feels so rushed.
Yeah.
Someone's put, which one is worse, Steppenwolf from Justice League or Ares from Wonder Woman? Steppenwolf in a
Yeah, I
heartbeat.
think
I love
so.
Ares.
Yeah.
And plus,
Yeah.
Ares was played by, oh God, what's he called? Professor Lupin from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his David Thewlis? And I love that guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Veronica Ashley's put they should have got the Mountain from Game of Thrones to play Steppenwolf.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine that? That would have been awesome. But yeah, someone's going on about the prosthetics as well. He really honestly did remind me of, if anyone's seen the Hobbit movies, Azog the Defiler. You've got this big CGI bad guy that talks in villain speech. And even there's a little flashback to the character, which I don't want to go too much into because it will be in the spoiler section. Basically goes into the history of the mother boxes and how they came about and this big war that happened when there was loads of different races. I think they say they have the Atlanteans, they have the Amazonians, and someone else, another faction, which I'm going to get into in spoilers. But it felt like Lord of the Rings. It felt like 3 were given to the elves, 7 were given to the dwarf lords, and 9 were given to the race of men. I don't know. I just got that impression from it. What else we need to talk about? Let's talk about the soundtrack then. So, as we know, since Man of Steel, Hans Zimmer was the sort of like the helmer of the music of this entire cinematic franchise. Bought on Junkie XL for Batman v Superman because Hans Zimmer had already written Batman music for Christopher Nolan's trilogy, and he couldn't get himself into a creative spot to come up with a new theme on the fly, which is fair enough, especially because it was only 4 years after The Dark Knight Rises. And then for some reason, Warner Brothers sack Junkie XL, and I think
I think it was Joss. I think it was Joss's
Joss?
decision. Yeah, that's
Okay.
why Joss. You have you're partly to blame for this. So that was what I read. That it was Joss. I'm gonna try to look it up real quick.
It might be because I think it's a case of that Joss Whedon didn't want to make a DC movie in the same tone that Zack Snyder and crew had done. I think he wanted to go like very campy with it and more light-hearted and brighter and everything like that. And you can see signs of that in the movie. But I think what it comes down to is, although the tone wasn't a problem for me, in all honesty, from the other films. Like, if you wanted to do a darker set of superhero movies, I think that would have been a good way to differentiate these movies from the Marvel movies, because Marvel is very bright and fanciful and not really much at stake, whereas the DC movies could have been that darker, more realistic version of these characters. My problems really with those movies stemmed from the actual characterizations of its characters and the script. That was really where my main problem came with it. But if you've established like a certain look and feel to your movies and your franchise, and then you just completely do a 180 and change that's going to be weird. And it seems like that's having an effect. Like, it might be making people that didn't like the darker stuff more accessible to this one and like this one, but people who did actually like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman might be undecided of this new tone that they're going with. So with the music, Junkie XL was originally on board, and he was fired by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, that's what it says. I was looking up here that it seems like it was Joss that decided to.
And obviously, like, the director has a lot of, it depends who he's worked with. And Joss Whedon actually has worked with Danny Elfman before, hasn't he, on Avengers Age of Ultron. So Danny Elfman was brought on board. Now, when I heard this, I really like Danny Elfman as a composer. I love what he did with the Tim Burton movies, especially Batman. Boy, that 1989 Batman movie is still my Batman theme. Whenever I think of Batman, that's immediately the theme I go to.
Yeah.
However, and I will say that 89 Batman theme does feature in this movie a couple of times. You can sort of like hear it fading in. There's even a moment in the movie where it full on plays full blast during one of the action scenes. And Danny Elfman's reasoning behind that was that also the John Williams Superman fanfare comes in as well in this movie. And Danny Elfman's reasoning for that was that he felt that those themes, the Batman theme that he wrote and John Williams' Superman theme, were iconic to those characters and were tied to those characters, and they were the only themes that should be associated with those characters. But we have to bear in mind that the 89 Batman theme was, to me, is my favorite Batman theme because it's so just Batman when I think about it. I understand that that theme isn't applicable to a 2017 audience. If you do listen to that song, it does feel slightly dated at this point. It does feel like it came from a Batman movie from the 80s or into the 90s or whatever it happens to be. For example, if you tried putting the Elfman theme over any of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, wouldn't have worked. And I think that's the case with this series too. Like the Ben Affleck Batman is a very dark and brutal Batman. We saw that in BVS. And I actually loved Junkie XL's Batman theme that he wrote for that movie. I forget what the track's called. I think it's like an 8-minute track. You can find it on YouTube from that movie. And it's epic, and you can hear like elements of the Danny Elfman theme. You can hear elements of the score from the Joel Schumacher movies, but it's also definitely its own thing. And I don't know how I feel about it hearing it in this movie. It was cool, and I got like a little bit of burst of nostalgia from it, as I did with the John Williams, the Superman theme. But again, when you've established music like Hans Zimmer's Superman theme and the piano that plays, what are you going to do when you're not saving the world, and the Batman theme, it's a shame not to hear some of those themes carry over. Like you get the Wonder Woman theme briefly. It doesn't sound as epic in this one, but you do get that theme still. I don't know. What did you think to the music?
I said in my spoil. Oh shoot, spoiler. Well, I guess this isn't too much spoilers, but I talked about it more in my spoiler review. That I felt, oh God, the best way I could describe it was that. I mean, I also have to say I do like Danny Elfman, like his older stuff. I love the Edward Scissorhands soundtrack. I love it. That's like one of my favorites ever. It's just one of my favorite movies, and part of it's because of the music. And yeah, his Batman stuff I love. Nightmare Before Christmas. So I like that stuff. But I said in my spoiler review that I felt that the music in this movie was kind of missing this epicness. That's the best way I could describe it, because like in BVS, like the music, and especially like in the Doomsday fight scene, because they're playing Issue With You, like that song with that fight gets me so pumped up every time I watch it. No matter how many times I watch it, I'm just like, oh my god, it's just like so epic, and just like, oh, but I felt in this movie when I was watching the fight scenes, like the music was more like kind of background noise. It wasn't really like making the scene more grand and epic like I felt like it should be for freaking Justice League, especially when at the especially for a certain fight where I felt like the music should be like very bombastic and grand, and it just felt like I felt like it was missing that. And like I said, it felt more like kind of background noise and like or music. But yeah, I did like the little theme here and there, the older themes, but I felt like it was a tease too, because like it was only he only kind of like played them like real quick, and then that was it. Like I was like, I want to hear a little bit more of them. Like, come on, just kind of tease us with that. And yeah, like we heard like a kind of more orchestral version of the Wonder Woman theme, but yeah, it didn't sound like as epic. So I just felt like it was missing that epic feel. Because like I do like Danny's other stuff that I mentioned before, but even though I like those scores of his, I would probably not describe them as epic. And I feel for Justice League, you need epic music, especially because it's freaking Justice League. Right. It's all the major superheroes, especially in the last fight. You need the music to be like, the music needs to be so huge and just epic that like just by, you don't even have to watch the movie, just by listening to the song, you're like, oh my god, you get pumped up. And I didn't really feel like that when I listened to the songs because I listened to a soundtrack before I watched the movie. I didn't really feel that before when I watched the songs, but I was like, when I heard the songs, but I was like, okay, let me watch the movie, and once I see the visuals, maybe it'll excite me more. And I felt like it excited me less. I was like, oh. So yeah, I think it was bad. And then like I didn't even know Danny worked on the Avengers until later. Somebody told me, because the music in the Avengers to me is not memorable. Like it just wasn't. And then BVS, it is. I think BVS and Man of Steel, they have a great soundtrack. Like, the Superman theme with the piano is like, oh, it gets you all the time. And then BVS, BVS had a lot of like similar themes from Man of Steel. They kind of reused a lot of them, but like BVS has a lot of memorable tracks in there, like the opening one, It's called Beautiful Lie. That one, oh my gosh, it makes me like cry. And then Issue with You, Hello, of course, and then you hear Man of Steel themes throughout it. So I feel like that one is way more memorable. But the Danny Elfman one, like, yeah, it's cool to hear familiar themes, but like you only hear them for like a tiny little bit.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, so I just felt like overall it wasn't as grand and epic as it should be for a freaking
Yeah.
Justice League movie.
Yeah, it felt generic, I think is the only word that comes to mind. Like there's
Mm.
hints in there of Danny Elfman's Spider-Man soundtrack. And speaking of Avengers, actually, like Alan Silvestri did the main theme to Avengers and did the score to the first Avengers film, and then Danny Elfman only really used that main theme, I think, like once, maybe twice in Avengers 2, which felt really weird. But even the
Mm.
Justice League main theme to this has hints of that Avengers theme, which just feels really weird. You know what they should have
Mm-hmm.
done? Did anyone see the '90s animated series of Justice League?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Imagine if like he'd have reorchestrated that, like just have that theme. That is Justice League to me. But we talked
Yeah.
about the characters. A lot of people watching want to know about the new characters, like Ezra Miller, especially, is getting shouted out quite a lot in the.
Yes, he was amazing. I loved
Um,
him. So many funny moments. I'm sorry. And then, oh my God, I can't even talk about the scenes, but he had so many, like, at least when I saw it, everyone was laughing. And it's like,
yeah.
I thought he was hilarious. And I want to talk about specific moments, but I
Mhm.
can't right now.
Oh God, I'm going to be
You
different to
didn't
you
like
here.
him. You didn't
I
like him.
I found him really obnoxious as a character
Okay.
because they
I
kind
could
of
see that.
he is the comic relief character and he kind of just stays that way for the most part. It felt like he had one shtick. He was like the socially awkward shtick guy, and they just played that up in every single scene he was in, which I didn't like. What I did like in the film, and it actually was my favorite part of the film, was what we can't say until spoilers, but there is a running joke in this film or a plot point that's
Oh,
established alongside Superman, and I'll keep it to that for
yeah.
right now. And I really liked that. I did get a kick out of that. I thought that
Oh,
was really
okay.
and I definitely think that was probably a Joss Whedon thing to add in. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was, and where it amounts to in the end, not just the. Oh, can I say it's the credits? There's something in the credits relating to it. I'll say that, and in the very end, there's a moment in the battle between the Flash and Superman, which I thought was great, which did genuinely get a laugh out of me, and I thought that was fantastic how they handled that. But I
Mm-hmm.
just wish they'd have eased up on the shtick. For example, I've only seen half of the first season of Flash, the TV show, but I really much prefer the Flash from that series compared to Ezra Miller's. And I know that we can't compare them because like one's TV, one's movie, but part of me does kind of wish they'd have merged the TV over into the movie, maybe just a
Mm.
little bit. I don't know. I really did actually like Cyborg, and from the trailers that we got, it looks like that the original film went much more into his backstory. We saw shots of him playing an American football game. So I can imagine that maybe they do go into his past a lot more. You don't really get much of it in this one, which was a shame. And I've seen a lot of people say that they didn't like his performance because it was very sort of like wooden and robotic. But I mean, that's the
I liked
character,
it.
right? Like he's lost all his humanity essentially. Like he is a robot. He is like a shell of a human being at this point.
I
But
just saw it as like he's angry, like he's
yeah,
bitter, like
yeah.
he's not gonna be like, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm Cyborg." He like hates his life kind of right now. So yeah, he's not really gonna be like very animated.
Mhm. Was there a
So
slight continuity error with Cyborg's character in this? I might have to watch it again to see if I missed it, but it felt like in the movie in Justice League he said that he was created after like the crashed alien spaceship, after like the whole Doomsday thing. But if you
mm,
watch Batman v Superman, they watch that video footage.
mm-hmm.
Well, Wonder Woman does, and it's like halfway into the movie, like it's happened before. So I
Yeah.
was a bit confused about that, if like they've messed with the timelines of it or not, and maybe I just missed a
Oh
line or
shoot.
interpreted it wrong. I'm not sure about that. And the only other new character we need to talk about really is Aquaman,
Mm-hmm.
um, who has kind of been boiled down, especially on if you go on social media, if you click anything on my
Yeah.
Facebook, nearly everyone is just they're sharing that shot of him in the waist high water with the
Uh-huh.
tattoos with his shirt off and just
Yeah.
saying like what a specimen of a guy, like look at the sexiest like man alive or something is Jason Momoa. And that's pretty much all I'm seeing right now. I didn't really feel like I got much of his character in this one. They kind of made him Aqua Bro, rather than Aquaman. Like he's just like, yeah, my man, and that's like all his dialogue in this movie. I
Well,
don't
I
know much
mean,
about my character, so is he like that? Does he have that sort of jokey personality, or is that something they've added for this movie?
no, I think they made him a little bit more like a surfer dude, but like I mean, that's kind of what I thought was gonna happen from the trailer, so I wasn't really like surprised, and
Yeah.
I liked it because he seemed cool, you know, and like I want Aquaman to be cool because people make fun of him all the time. Oh, he talks to fish, blah blah
I love
blah.
Aquaman. I absolutely love
So,
Aquaman. I wanted a shark in this movie
oh,
or a
that would have been
dolphin, and I
awesome.
didn't get one, unfortunately. But yeah.
But I actually like it made like the scene that made me interested in seeing Aquaman, like the movie, was his scene with Mara, you know, because they were talking about like, you know, obviously they had some history, something happened. I was like, wait, what happened? So now I kind of want to see it because I'm obviously like they're probably gonna go more into that in the movie, but I don't know. I thought he was totally BA, you know. So I thought he was awesome. So I need to see
I
the movie again. It's been a
yeah.
week for me. I saw it last Monday at the premiere, so I want to try to see if I can go tonight to see it on IMAX.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
yeah.
do applaud DC for being different. I mean, they couldn't have followed the Marvel model so much, but I do kind of think that maybe it would have been better to have a Cyborg setup movie or an Aquaman one at least, because I can tell like the world of like Aquaman is so
Mm-hmm.
vast and that there's like a big history there, and I think that would have been good to have that history there maybe before. But we'll have to wait and
Mm-hmm.
see if and when Aquaman does get made. I know that oh god, I forgot the name of the director now. James Wan is directing that,
Yeah.
so that should be very interesting. I do like that. Very, very briefly before we move on to spoilers, a lot of people are talking about Batman and that he's more comedic in this film. Um, he definitely is, and I guess you could argue that at the end of Batman v Superman, the events changed him as a character.
Yeah.
He doesn't kill. He does kill things in this, but it's not quite as blatant as it was in Batman v Superman, which I liked. We still have shots of Batman using a gun, which really bothers me. And I know he's used a gun in the comic books occasionally, but like a grappling gun's fine, but when he's actually got like a sort of like shotgun thing and using it, that always kind of bothers me because I thought that Batman was so against guns because of what happened to his parents. I've always liked Affleck in this role, although I haven't liked the characterization of him. I don't like a more murderous Punisher like Batman. I like one that still doesn't kill people and has that rule. He never crosses that rule. But I've always loved
Mm-hmm.
Affleck in the role both as Bruce Wayne and Batman. The warehouse scene in BVS, are you kidding me? That's like one of the best Batman scenes we've ever
Mm-hmm.
had in the history of Batman. And I still like him in this one. There might be a slight hint of that he really wishes he wasn't there. And as we've heard recently in the news, there's lots of rumors out there that he wants to get out of the DCEU as quick as he can. But it's a shame because I really think that had he have got that chance to direct his own Batman movie or Batman
Mm-hmm.
trilogy after Nolan, I honestly think it could have topped Nolan's. I really genuinely do. I think it would have been a lot closer to when you think of comic book Batman. I mean, even like the brief glimpses you get of Gotham in this film, it looks like straight out of the Arkham video games, which is my
Mm-hmm.
favorite incarnation of Gotham, I guess you can say. And I just really wish that he will get that chance or would have got that chance to being something a little bit better. But I still liked him. Cavill's still great for the amount of screen time he's in it. But part of me is like, Superman should have been in it from the beginning. I know he can't be because where they sort of like wrote themselves into a corner with the end of BVS and the death of Superman. But when all
Mm-hmm.
the posters came out, and you knew they were building up to like the big return of Superman, but when all the posters came out for Justice League, and it was like the five of them, and it
Mm-hmm.
was, I think you did a picture, didn't you? You had your little action figure of
Yeah.
Superman, and you kind of
I was
like
like, I
added him into
fixed
the
it.
poster.
Fixed it
Yeah,
for you.
I don't know. I mean, there's one other like big major edition of the Justice League that isn't in this film, which hopefully will get to be included in the sequel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I still liked Affleck. Absolutely, I still liked Cavill. Gal Gadot's still absolutely incredible as well as Wonder Woman. But there is definitely a move towards a more brighter tone, especially with Cavill as well. Like he's always been very somber as the character. In the previous movies, they seem like they've gone for a more sort of like worn, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders Superman, rather than the Superman, my favorite one, like Christopher Reeve, like saving cats out of trees and the Boy Scout kind of character, which is my favorite version of Superman. But there's definitely a move to that more Boy Scout Superman, I would say, in this movie, especially towards the end. The look of his costume as well, visually, it's a lot brighter. It doesn't have as many muted colors. Like he walks on, you're like, that is a blue costume with a red cape right there. It's like very dazzling in the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, did you like the returning members of the Justice League?
Oh yeah, of course. I thought Ben was awesome, especially in one scene. I can't say because we're not in spoilers yet. And
We'll
then
get that.
Gal
We'll
as
get that.
well.
Yeah.
And yeah, Henry too. I do have to say because I rewatched Man of Steel before I saw Justice League. Henry smiles a lot in that movie. I have to say, people are like, "Oh, he doesn't smile." He smiled like I was watching Man of Steel. I'm like, "What are people talking about?" He smiles a lot in that movie. I will screenshot every scene where he smiles. He does smile. So stop saying he doesn't smile.
Okay.
He does
Okay.
smile. Okay. And also, I mean, in BBS, seriously, the world was people were so mean to him. Like he was trying to do good. He's a noob basically at being Superman. So obviously he's gonna be a little upset if like no matter what he does, people are gonna hate him and think he's like evil or whatever. So I mean, you can't really blame the guy. I mean, now and Justice League now, it's like okay, things are getting better now. The people love him now because they missed him because he died, so they appreciate him now. So now he's gonna be a little bit happier. So yeah, he's gonna be, and that's what people want, right?
Mhm.
So people should be happy with the Superman
Even
that's
if we
in
do,
Justice League.
yeah, and even with like Batman, when people are criticizing him for being a bit too comedic in this one, I Batman's a character
I
that you
don't
can
think so.
no,
I don't think
like
so.
he gets a couple of
Plus,
one-liners here and there, but like
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. I mean, if you see the shows and any of the shows, the comics, you
Yeah,
can crack a joke once in a while.
yeah.
I never thought that Superman or Batman in this movie. I wasn't like, oh my god, they're such jokesters.
Mhm,
It's like it's just them having a sense of humor. Like Ezra was a jokester,
mhm.
but like why is it bad for them to crack a joke once in a while?
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
it's not like Batman and Robin level, right? Like it's nowhere near that degree. But as like Batman's a character you can adapt in so many different ways. Like he's great when he's dark and serious. He's great when he's comedic. Like look at 60s Batman. Look at Lego Batman. He's a character you can change in so many ways.
And also every joke that Batman cracked or whatever, that's something that Batman would say. It's not
Yeah.
like something that was out of his character, like he's trying too hard to be funny. No, like, when he says, "Oh, at least I'm not the one that brought a pitchfork or something." That's something
Yeah.
he would say. Okay, or like, "Oh, it's good to see you playing with others. Oh, it's gonna be temporary." That's something he would say. Okay, so it's not like it was out of like it was really weird for him to say stuff like that. So
Mm.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was fine.
The last thing I'll say is we've had a comment from Sheila saying her favorite Superman is Dean Kane's just because she had a crush on him.
Oh,
That's fair enough. Smallville, going back in the day. So I guess we'll do overall recommendation now, and then we'll move into spoilers really quickly after this. So for me, would I recommend seeing this movie? As a superhero film, it feels quite dated in terms of like the effects and even the music as well. It's just under 2 hours though, so although I didn't like this movie, as I said at the beginning, I didn't hate this movie. I didn't come out of this movie like tearing my hair out, saying like they did this wrong, they did that wrong. It just kind of washed over me. I had sort of like a general feeling of apathy throughout this whole
mhm,
movie. I will say though, I did check my clock 4 times during the film, even though it's only
oh,
2 hours, so I was getting fairly restless in it. Um, I feel like most of the movie is just we're putting together a team, we're putting together a team, we're putting together a team, and then they fight a bit. Like that's the movie. And it didn't seem like there was as much narrative drive. Maybe if we get a 3 hour cut of this thing and they add more bits in, more subplots and things like that, maybe it will
mhm,
flesh out the movie a little bit more and I might enjoy it a lot more. As it is, I wasn't angry about it, but I just didn't really care about anything in it, which is a shame because I don't want, even now, I don't want this movie to fail. Like, I love all these characters. I love Batman. I love Superman. I love Wonder Woman. And we'll talk about it after spoilers, sort of like the future of this entire franchise. But I don't want to see them reboot this at this stage. I do still think it might be difficult. It might be damn near impossible now. But I do think you can salvage this. I do think if they get a clear vision in their mind of the tone they want to go with this thing, of how they want the characters to go, I do think it's still in reach to like pull it back the next movie. But as it is, I didn't enjoy it. But if you're a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of DC, you're gonna seen it anyway. And there's really nothing else on at the cinema right now. I think Coco's coming out next week in the US, so
mhm.
maybe that will detract from some of its box office draw for next week. But I don't know. That's my 2 cents anyway. What did you think of the movie? Overall recommendation?
Um, I would recommend people to see it. It's fun. It's a fun movie that I feel like even if you don't like it, you can say it's fun because it had a lot of funny moments. And it's just, yeah, especially if you are, like these characters, because it's just like a dream come true and awesome seeing them all together. There are some like pretty good moments in there, even though CGI is like not that good. But there are some, like, I can't really say the specific moments right now, but I think there are some pretty cool moments, and I think I'm glad that I was saying, because a lot of people are like, oh, Superman, like they were all scared. Oh, he's only going to be in the last 5 minutes, and I kept saying, no, he's going to be in more than 5 minutes. Calm down, everyone. So yes, I was right. He was in more than 5 minutes. So we got a lot of Superman, which was awesome. And yeah, I recommend at least watch it one time. Just check
Yes.
it out.
Yeah. So that'll do it for our spoiler-free section. We'll
Okay,
get into
let me see. I didn't see Fantastic Four, the new one.
Okay. Oh, good.
But
Don't see it.
I
Don't
know,
ever see it.
I know people didn't like it. So what do you think is better, Fantastic Four or Justice League?
Oh God, Justice League. In a heartbeat,
Okay.
Justice League. Like
Okay.
Justice League, although it's been like changed and like ravaged and like completely changed from what it was, it still feels like a movie. Like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end somewhat. Fantastic, or Fantastic as I call it, because like the posters that came out is an absolute train wreck of a movie.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels unfinished, which it pretty much is. So, oh God, Justice League in a heartbeat.
Okay.
This isn't Justice League isn't the worst comic book I have seen by any stretch of the imagination. Like I was really angry at Thor Ragnarok. I didn't really care for that. I didn't
I just
like
needed to say
Spider-Man
that because
Homecoming.
some people are trying to make it seem like it's the worst one, so that's
Oh
why I
God,
needed to say that.
no, nothing like that. It's just it was like if I was giving it, I don't like giving out of 10 ratings. If I was giving it out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 5. Like
Oh,
it's
okay.
really middle of the road for me.
Okay.
Fantastic would be way, way down, like at 1 or maybe
Oh,
lower.
okay.
But that'll do it for our spoiler-free review on Justice League. We can get into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen Justice League and you still do want to see it, go away and watch it first. Come back to our review afterwards. That is your final warning. Itzmoe, I'm going to start with you. What is the big standout spoilerific thing you wanted to talk about first? I think I know where you're going to go with this one, but
Oh my gosh. No, oh my god, there's so many. First, all of Ezra's moments. Like, oh, there's one moment I really liked when he first got to the Pat Cave and he's like going everywhere, like trying all these different things, like sitting in the chair and everything. And it was kind of funny that he was sitting in Bruce's chair because then he was talking about Bruce about sitting in his second favorite chair, and then he sat in Bruce's chair. So that was pretty funny. I just liked and then I liked that moment. And then when Aquaman was sitting in the lasso of truth, and then he was saying like,
yes,
"Oh, you're gorgeous," and all this stuff. And then Wonder Woman, like, she's trying not to laugh, and like that was beautiful. Like that was I thought that was such a great scene. And then let's see what else. Well, I mean the race, the end credit scene with Superman and Flash. I said that in May. They should end it like that, but I really didn't think it was gonna happen. So when I saw that scene, I was shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? Somebody saw my post. Because I totally said this, but I had no idea it was actually going to happen because I thought there was no chance. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was cool to actually see that moment.
mm-hmm.
I just wish it would have been before the reshoots just because of Henry's mustache. And I think one of the best scenes that I thought Ben and Gal were great in was when he brought up Steve Trevor. And then she pushed him, and I thought that was such a good scene. I was like, oh, like in the theater, we're just like, oh no, you didn't, Bruce. What? Why would you bring up Steve Trevor? We're like, shoot, Bruce, you're in the doghouse now, dude.
Because in a moment like that, you're expecting it to, like, in any other movie, it would be a slap around the face, right? But Wonder Woman, like, hell no, gut punch, and he goes like flying about 10 feet across the floor.
And yeah, it was great. She unleashed her strength. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, she could have done probably worse, but she's like, cool. But he deserved it. So I would have been cool to, because I like that scene just because, like, it's a new team, it's gonna be, disagreements, and I think it would have been cool to see a little bit more of that. But I mean, we did see more disagreements with, like, them, like, kind of like half of them were like, okay, bring back Superman, the others were like, no. But I don't know, I really like that scene between Bruce and Diana.
Mm-hmm.
And And I don't know, like even though, oh yeah, oh my gosh, one of my favorite scenes too was when Superman came back and he was fighting the League. I wanted that to happen so bad because I'm like, I want him to fight them first before he becomes good again. And it happened, and it was just awesome, just because he was like kicking everyone's butt. and and then oh my gosh, when like Flash is running like around him, and then Superman looks at him, and then Flash is like, "Oh my god!"
That
like,
was my favorite bit. That was my favorite bit of the movie.
I love that. I was like, "Oh my god, that was so hilarious!" And then I think the joke that you're talking about was the Pet Cemetery thing, like Pet Cemetery. Or is that not the one that you're talking about? Oh,
no,
okay.
I was going to go to that part where Flash ran past him and Superman's like, "What do you think?" You know, like that. Like it's the best thing ever. Like I love that part.
Yeah.
Another thing I really liked as well, going with that whole Flash and Superman thing, and I kind of hinted at it. So there's a subplot in the movie which you can tell is absolutely unequivocally Joss Whedon directed and written. He focuses on like one Russian family. He sort of like zeroes in on like a family or like one thing going on, so you get connected to that one person. And they're trying to escape the big carnage at the end. It's kind of weird though, because in terms of civilians, it feels like the only population of this place is like one Russian family. It's really strange.
Yeah.
But Flash and Superman are saying, right, we've got to save some civilians, so they pair off. Flash like pushes the car with his family in, and he's really proud of what he's done. And then he just looks over and he sees Superman just carrying like an entire apartment block.
That was so funny. Yeah, I love that. Oh my god.
That was just like a little touch right there, and I thought that's absolutely what would happen in the comic books or something like that. And I do like, hopefully, if we do get a sequel, they continue that rivalry, that like fun rivalry between the Flash and Superman, because I could see that being a thing now if they do carry on these films.
Yeah, it was great because it showed like Superman like his full power. I felt because it was the first time I think in this movie we saw his like, what's that called? That breath, the
freeze
cold
breath. Yeah, it's the debut of that, wasn't it? I was surprised by that, and that's kind of how they beat the bad guy ultimately at the end, which was cool.
Yeah, and it was awesome to see him come in and completely like kick his butt at the end. That was awesome.
I mean, I've seen like the whole thing, like the entire crux of the movie is we need to build a team so that we can beat the bad guy. But ultimately, at the end, it's kind of like Superman can do this on his own. Like all you need is Superman, which I'm not gonna.
He needs his backup just in case.
We've got Romero in the comics right there saying "freeze breath" with exclamation mark. Like, so we've got a fan of the freeze breath right there. No, I love that too. Yeah. One big thing that caught me off guard, I mean, I guess I should have expected that they'd go there, but just to see it on screen was kind of cool. In the flashback to like sort of like the history of the Mother Boxers and Steppenwolf and the big war that was fought, the Green Lanterns are in there, which was kind of cool. I don't know if their name dropped. I think they say like Atlanteans, Amazons, and other galactic forces or something like that. But you can see like someone use one of like the green fists through the air to punch someone. I thought that was a cool little nod. And it makes me think Lanterns would have been in it more, or maybe it was just recorded as a trailer line, because I think it was trailer 1 or trailer 2 that came out for Justice League. We had a voiceover from Steppenwolf, Kieran Hines, who said, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was something like, there's no one here to save you, no Amazons, no Kryptonians, no Lanterns.
Yeah.
And everyone went like, oh my God, Green Lantern's going to be in the movie.
But... No, okay. I was right about this too, okay, because I told people Green Lantern was not going to be in this movie. Only references, which is like what the flashback was. But I felt like he wasn't going to be in this movie as part of the team just because it's too much, I felt. Like, we're already trying to bring back Superman, introducing the characters. I felt, okay, you're already... And then another one? Like, it would be, honestly, I think, too much, especially with the runtime now that they had, that they wanted. It would not be a good idea to have Green Lantern as part of the team. But it was cool to see them in that, you know, those scenes with the flashback, and then the scene Zeus. I think that was Zeus. Some people don't know if, like, they don't know if it's Zeus. Did you see that?
No, I missed that part.
Yeah, so a lot of people in the theater, like, well, we all freaked out when we saw the Green Lantern and the ring and everything. We're like, oh my God, that's awesome. And then I think it was Zeus in that scene where they're fighting with the gods and everything. So it was cool seeing that. But I thought those looked pretty good in terms of, like, I feel like those were Zack Snyder scenes. At least they kind of look more like Zack Snyder. So, because I felt those scenes looked pretty good in terms of, like, CG and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that was that, because he's pretty good at that kind of stuff. 300.
Yeah, I mean, I love
Yeah,
300.
yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love that film. He's good with scale, like especially
Hmm.
like battle scenes like that, so I can definitely see that. Um, I'm gonna say the dumbest scene in this movie for me, and it wasn't. There was a lot of dumb scenes in this movie, but this one like made me laugh. I wasn't even mad by it, but
Oh.
after the team resurrects Superman and they have that whole moment where Superman's kind of like gone unhinged and a little murderous and they're all trying to fight him.
Hmm.
They eventually calm him down. I think they say that Batman brings out the big guns and he brings out Lois Lane, which calms him down in
Hmm.
the end.
Which
And then,
predicted. I
yeah,
predicted too.
yeah, and I
Okay.
think he's done that. Isn't it in Oh God, what's the comic book? Is it in? I want to say Hush. Does he fight Superman in Hush?
No, no, I don't think
Um,
so. I I mean, Dark Knight
Yeah, I've read a Batman
Returns.
comic somewhere where he fights Super. It's not the Dark Knight Returns,
Mm,
but he uses Lois as leverage. He says like, "While you've been
mm,
fighting me, something's happening to Lois," and that's always what triggers Superman. So I did like that
hmm.
that he used. But they calm him down, and the whole crux of them having this mother box is that they need to keep it safe, and they just like forget about it and leave it in Superman's crashed Kryptonian ship, and then Steppenwolf just comes down like bloop, takes the and just like flies
Yeah,
away,
that's true.
and they all turn around like like we
Yeah.
forgot about that thing. Another thing that really struck me as weird in this film is the sort of like your big action scene in this movie. The first action scene is like with this robotic walker thing that Batman has. Did that scene end really quickly for you? It felt like they'd skipped a bit out there because they're trying to climb up out of the tunnel and like the water's rising higher and they're about to die. And then I think Cyborg says like he's going to go and fetch something to help them, and then it cuts and they're back on the surface and everything's fine. And I felt like I'd missed something there. Was
Is
that
that the
just
one where
me or?
is that the one where Aquaman comes in and saves them?
Yeah, like he holds
Um,
back the water for a bit, but then he
yeah.
gets into the ship and the water starts coming back. I don't. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I need to watch it again. And
Yeah,
I'm
I don't really. I have to watch it again. It's been a week
yeah.
for me, so yeah, I don't
There's like a
really.
really harsh cut in it, and then it like they're back on the surface
Uh,
and everything's fine.
okay.
Really, actually, because I guess this is his debut in the DCEU now. What did you think to J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon?
I thought he was fine. I thought we were gonna see a little bit more of him, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked him.
Mhm.
Thought he was cool, but
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't see much
hopefully.
of him.
Yeah, he's always going to be J. Jonah Jameson to me from Spider-Man. So it was very
Oh.
weird seeing him as Commissioner Gordon. Um, I guess we'll finish with the post-credit scenes then, right?
Hmm.
So we talked about the first one, the race with the Flash and Superman, and the big plot one, which might hopefully lead into a sequel or whatever they're going to do next. Lex Luthor and Deathstroke. So did you call this one? Did you know? Or is it the previous one that you called and this
Oh,
was
I
a
called
surprise to you?
the Flash and
Yeah.
the Flash and Superman race. I'm gonna post a link in the chat so people can see it because I'm not freaking lying. I seriously, of this year, I posted even with a graphic with the comic, the cover of Flash and Superman racing, and I said, "Wouldn't no? Well, can Justice League please end with the Flash between
Mhm.
could it end with the race between Superman and the Flash?" And I posted that just like as a wish, like I wanted to happen, but I didn't really think it was gonna happen. And then I saw the movie and I was like, my mouth was just like, I said this and now it's happening. What? Warner Brothers, you are stealing my ideas. What is going on? Because that's not the first thing that I've said that I wanted and it actually happened. Like,
Mhm.
I've been saying I wanted a Flashpoint movie for months since like last year. And then they announced a Flashpoint movie and I was like, I've been saying this. Like, what the heck? Who is copying me? Who is watching my videos on YouTube and not compensating me? So yeah, I definitely called it. Only one. I don't remember seeing any other YouTubers saying they want that scene. So yeah, I'm gonna just I'm trying to get the links right now. But it was still really cool to see. I just it would have been so much better if just like Henry, this mustache. It's not his
Mhm.
fault. I feel so bad. It's not Henry's fault at all. But that was the only thing that didn't make the scene perfect. If only like they would have shot that before the reshoots. If he would have been able to like shave, that would have been great.
I will
But
say in its defense, like I think like just general rule of thumb, you've probably studied Henry Cavill's face a lot more than I personally have, like maybe. Um when I saw the pictures, like the first things that came out were like leaked pictures from the screen of his chin, and he kind of looked like a cross between the Crimson Chin and the
Uh-huh.
troll face meme, like with the grin. Like he kind of looked like a mix between that. When I watched the
Uh,
film, it was
mhm.
kind of noticeable, but it wasn't as bad or as noticeable as I thought it was going to be based on what I saw from leaked pictures.
Well,
Clearly, thought completely the opposite
yeah.
to that. Yeah.
Yeah, to me it was so obvious. Well, I mean, it's not just because like, yeah, I've looked at Henry's face, but like, I can't post the links. I guess I'm not allowed to post links in the chat. I was trying to post links to the post that I made, but maybe I'll post
I'll
them
put
in
it
the
in the
comments.
description, yeah, or in the comments,
Um,
yeah.
but like for example, I noticed when I watched Tron 2, I noticed right away that was like a CGI younger Jeff Bridges. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that does not look human, like a person. I was like, that was Jeff Bridges all CGI made to look younger. So I think I'm pretty good at like noticing when they make changes to people's
It's
faces.
the uncanny valley effect, isn't it? Like you can have the greatest CGI out there, but it can never fool the human eye when it comes to people. Like it can
Yeah.
tell some things off a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just like especially like whenever he moved his mouth, like if he's just like standing still, it looked okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he moves his mouth, it's just like, oh gosh. Um
I mean,
so
I'm not a
yeah,
visual
yeah.
effects guy, like clearly, but couldn't they just like paste over his upper mouth and leave the rest intact? Like, or did they have to? Did he
I
have
don't
like a bit
know.
of a beard as well, or was it just a moustache? I don't know. It's very very
But
strange.
yeah, like somebody Romero, he said that 329. He said he noticed it in the first scene. Yeah, me too. As soon as like I saw that first scene with the cell phone, I noticed it right away, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh god. I mean, it was even though I was happy to open with Henry, but still, it's like, oh, I noticed it right away. So
I
yeah,
actually really liked that opening. I know a lot of
yeah, me
people
too.
don't, and I can tell that was definitely like obviously because of the CGI, but like a reshoot. It felt like something Joss Whedon would do, but it was an interesting like little prologue before we get like the Batman v Superman style music video at the beginning of the
Hmm.
film. Um,
I like that part because I actually started crying at that part because it made me miss Superman.
yeah,
It reminded you like what happened. I thought it was good that they had that because just kind of to remind people that maybe didn't watch BVS as much as I did. What happened? The world misses Superman. He, sacrificed himself. That's another thing about Justice League because so far, like every DCU movie, there was at least one person sacrificing themselves. This is the only one
yeah.
that nobody sacrificed himself because I was like, who's gonna sacrifice himself in this movie? Because it's always at least one person, and in this one, um, no one did. So I don't know if maybe in the original Zack Snyder cut somebody did because I did see a graphic recently. I think like yesterday where I think in the original script supposedly maybe Cyborg was about to sacrifice himself, but then like the Flash saved him or something. And then I guess they changed that scene, but there was like yeah there and then there was like a scene in the trailer where he screams like Barry or something like that, and that was supposedly from that one scene where he's like sacrificing himself. But then yeah, it was cut out. So I guess like it would have been Cyborg maybe. But yeah, this was the first one where nobody sacrificed
Yeah.
themselves.
I'm
So
glad they didn't do that though, because it is kind of cliched and played out at this point.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. It's like okay, we're gonna expect somebody to sacrifice himself
mhm.
in every movie now.
With Cyborg though, I've already harped on the CGI, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But I really didn't like the CGI on Cyborg. But what annoyed me the most was I hated his character design right up until like the very last shot you see of him, where they make modifications to his armor and like smooth it out so it's more like the comic books.
Mm.
And I was like, why couldn't you have given us that like the whole movie? Like that would have looked great. I hate when they do that. I
Mm.
get that it's kind of like an earlier version, like maybe they want to sell more toys when it comes to the sequels, so we've got a character that looks slightly different. But I was like, come on, you were this close to greatness.
Oh.
Also, Batman with the goggles, when that picture first came out, all I can see is Night
Mm.
Owl from Zack Snyder's Watchmen. That's all I can see.
Oh, okay.
Um, but the post-credit scene, so Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, I think
Oh.
it was like a month ago or a couple of weeks ago now, they confirmed that they're working on a standalone Deathstroke movie. Guy's name, I forgot the guy's name who directs it, but the director of The Raid, the two
Mm.
martial art movies, which are incredible. They're two of the best action movies I've ever seen in my life. If no one's seen The
Oh.
Raid, go and watch The Raid and The Raid 2. They're phenomenal movies. Um,
Okay.
and after playing Batman Arkham Origins, that one boss fight with Deathstroke, I'm kind of excited to see whether Deathstroke needs a solo movie on his own. Is I don't know. I don't know if there's enough stuff there because I know that he has some vague affiliation with the Suicide Squad. He's
Mm-hmm.
kind of Batman's equal in terms of like combat prowess and everything like that. But
Yeah.
Batman's going to be in that movie as far as we know, so it's just going to be him, which might be a bit strange. But I mean, they've nailed the costume. The costume looks incredible. I'm not going to lie, but I do really like Manu Bennett's take on the character of Deathstroke from the Arrow TV series. I really liked him
We
as
can have two cool
we can have,
ones.
yeah, we can absolutely have two. It's just going to be very difficult to like see a new Deathstroke. One thing is for certain though, this new costume way better than the one in Arrow. The one in Arrow looks like a cheap
Mm.
Halloween Jason Voorhees mask that's been like spray painted black and orange. It looked so bad. Um,
Oh,
Lex Luthor as well. Like I heard they cut him out the movie entirely, so
mhm.
I'm guessing that Lex probably did have a presence somewhere in the original
Yeah.
cut of this movie. Maybe it was like the whole springing him out of prison plot line, or maybe he was just like maybe Batman paid a visit to him in Arkham. I don't
Hmm.
know. I really don't like Jesse Eisenberg's take on Lex Luthor. That's not Lex Luthor to me. I know it's Lex Luthor Jr. technically, but for all intents and purposes, it's meant to be Lex Luthor.
Hmm.
I wanted to see him dial back the Jesse Eisenberg shtick in this one, and he's only in one scene, so I guess he kind of did. But
Hmm.
that's not Lex Luthor to me. Like he'd have been a great Riddler, I think,
Hmm.
Jesse Eisenberg. But I don't know. It was cool seeing Deathstroke though, I guess. And this new
Hmm.
evil Justice League they're now putting together. Do you think that will tie into Suicide Squad, or is this something else in the comics that it builds up to?
Oh, I think they're gonna be the villains for Justice League 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they're gonna bring in people in their team, their Legion of Doom, Secret Society, whatever they're gonna
Yeah,
call it. I think they are gonna bring in the Joker. I mean, how would you not bring the Joker?
yeah.
You need to bring in the big guns for this team, okay? So I mean, I would hope they would bring in the Joker, Harley, maybe Deadshot. So then you would
Oh,
have both
yeah.
Deathstroke and Deadshot.
That's
That'd
gonna
be
get so
crazy.
confusing.
People are gonna get so confused because I'm confused sometimes still. And then you would need to bring like maybe somebody for Wonder Woman, but she'd be new because I don't think they would bring in Ares. So maybe like Cheetah.
Yeah.
Um, then a Flash villain. I don't know, Captain Cold or I thought I love freaking
Well,
the
Captain
one from
Boomerang, right?
Smallville.
Captain Boomerang's a Flash
Oh yeah,
villain, isn't
Boomerang.
he?
Oh yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
true. He's from Suicide Squad, so you can bring in him. So hopefully they bring in some people from Suicide Squad because I think it'd be good because people are familiar with them, so you wouldn't have to introduce so many new characters. Maybe introduce one new villain. I mean, well, I guess you would have to introduce Deathstroke if the movie doesn't come out before Justice League 2. But yeah, first of all, I just don't think they should even do Suicide Squad 2. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I like the movie. It's my least favorite of the DCU ones. I did enjoy it, but like I don't feel like there's a need for Suicide Squad 2. Just have those characters in Justice League 2.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, so they can fight against the Justice League. But I don't really. I feel like Warner Bros. Would be wasting their money making a Suicide Squad 2. And you're gonna, yeah. If Justice League didn't make that much money, you really think Suicide Squad 2 is gonna make more money? I don't think so. So Warner Brothers just don't
Mm-hmm.
scrap Suicide Squad 2. That's my opinion.
The only
So.
thing with that is though, if you do bring the Suicide Squad villains into Justice League 2, you're gonna have to find a way to like nerf down Superman and Wonder Woman because everyone on the Justice League is like the Suicide Squad is a person, like
Mhm.
Joker, Harley, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot. One
Well, I
like
mean,
glance from Superman is just gonna like kill them all, right? Like,
yeah, they would. That's why I said that probably introduce some new ones in
yes,
addition to
yeah.
those from Suicide Squad that could. Who could? I mean, I guess, but I mean, Lex. I feel like he would wear that suit that he usually wears to fight against Superman.
Can you imagine Jesse Eisenberg in that thing?
Yeah, or Brainiac.
Oh,
There we go.
I'd love
But no,
Brain.
but that would be for more Man. That should be more for Man of Steel too.
Yeah.
Though they should save him for Man. So yeah, but I mean, they should have like a villain for every hero. Oh, and then freaking Patrick, the one Aquaman's brother, the Patrick. That's the
Oh, I
actor's
have no
name
idea.
playing his brother, Ocean Master.
Dempsey? Is
Yeah.
Dempsey in it?
No,
No?
Patrick. Oh God,
Oh,
I
that would
always
be
forget his
great if
name.
Patrick Dempsey is in it. I
No,
have no idea. No
Patrick.
idea.
He played the president's voice in PVS.
Oh
Patrick
god.
Wilson. He plays
Oh
Ocean
yes, yeah.
Master. He
Yeah.
plays Ocean Master, Aquaman's brother or half brother, and they should bring him in as like Aquaman's foe, in Justice
Mhm.
League 2 or whatever. So I guess they would need someone for Cyborg to fight against,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I was just thinking Lex would be the villain to go against Superman. So
Mhm.
if he wears that suit, maybe he
Mhm.
could do it. But
Just got a
I
comment
don't know.
saying, have you heard the theory that Joker in the purple Lamborghini video is on his way to meeting Lex Luthor? I haven't seen that theory, but that's never said in the movie, so
Yeah,
I guess we can't classify that as canon.
yeah.
So we'll end with really briefly because I know we've been on for a long time and I know you need to get ready to go and see Justice League. I don't know what the time difference is between us, so we'll work it out. But what do you think the future is of DC at this point? Because the film cost about 300 million to make, and that's just the
Hmm.
movie. On top of that, you've got to take into consideration all the marketing that this film went through and everything like that. And they usually say the general rule of thumb is to double how much the movie cost to make, and then add that on top of it again for all of that stuff. So the film's looking at about 600 million to at least break even with what it cost to make this thing. And I think for Warner Brothers, it definitely underperformed at the box office. It made under 100 million opening weekend.
Hmm.
It's the lowest grossing DCEU film so far, and as it's
Well, it's
Justice League, which is the big thing.
opening.
Opening, yes, agreed. But not all the time, but sometimes as the weeks go on, the box office numbers do drop off as new films come in. As I said, Coco's coming out, which will be a huge like family movie that people go and see.
Hmm.
Do you think that Warner Brothers are going to be looking at these numbers and where do you think the future of the DCEU is after this point? Do you think it will still carry on unfaltering, or do you think there's going to be a big shakeup after this one?
I I think they are. I mean, this is what I hope they do too. Is that they just kind of look at, because they've proposed so many movies, they've announced so many movies that I feel like they really need to like look at the ones that they announced and cut a lot of them and just focus on only. Okay, this is because I was talking about it. I was doing a live stream yesterday. These are the ones that I think they should make and the ones they need to cut. So Aquaman's already going to happen. So okay, yeah, that's fine. Wonder Woman 2, definitely make that one. Man of Steel 2, that needs
Yes.
to
Yeah.
happen. Okay, that one needs to happen. Henry Cavill only has one film left in his contract. I mean, obviously they can renew, sign to a new one after that one, but he only has one film left. Use him for Man of Steel 2, please. Okay, that one is long overdue. So, make those. Do not make a Black Adam movie. Why would they? No, that's just dumb. You're gonna lose money. Like, I honestly, my theory is that I really think it's The Rock's fault. Like, I think he's the one that pushed that idea of him having a solo movie, because the original plan was to have Shazam movie and have Black Adam introduced in the Shazam movie, which makes
Which would
sense.
make sense. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Right.
it makes sense. Duh. But no, I really think The Rock talked, because now they said, oh, we're gonna have a Black Adam movie and The Rock's not even gonna be in the Shazam movie. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm like, The Rock probably just could not bear not being the star. So he was probably like, I need to have my own movie. I don't even want to be in this other movie. So I think it's his fault, even though he's a nice guy. I've worked with him. I worked on a show with him. He was sitting
Oh,
close to
nice.
me. Yeah, so he seems like a nice guy, but he still can have an ego. So I really think it's his fault that now we might have a Black Adam movie, which I think is a waste of money.
And I think it's
So
Warner Brothers' fault as well because, like, they're clearly like again, not to compare it too much to Marvel, but with Marvel, although I might not like all of their movies, you can tell that there's a plan. You can tell that each movie that comes out is in a lead up to a big thing that's coming out. Whereas at Warner Brothers, it just feels like we've got The
well,
Rock now. Put him in as many movies as possible because it'll make money because he's The Rock, and they don't really
which
care about the overarching story of anything.
well, I feel like, I mean, the big lead up was Justice League, I think, and then Justice League 2, and then but yeah. So then you get rid of Black Adam movie. No Black Adam movie. No Suicide Squad 2.
Well,
Honestly,
I've heard
no.
that
I'm
Black Adam's
sorry.
going to be the villain in Suicide Squad 2, they've said now,
Which
right?
is dumb. Which is dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Again,
agree. I agree.
again, get rid of Black Adam movie. Get rid of Suicide Squad 2. Have Black Adam introduced in Shazam, because that's what makes sense.
Hmm.
It's that's like Shazam's Joker. Like, like Joker is
Yeah.
to Batman, Black Adam is to Shazam. He needs to be in the Shazam movie. So no, and no Gotham City Sirens. I'm sorry, I know people like, the only people that want to see that movie, even though I love the characters, nothing against the characters, but general audiences if they didn't go see Justice League, they're not gonna go see Gotham City Sirens. I'm sorry. That's a movie for like super fans. We're not the majority, okay? So they want to make money. Do not make Gotham City Sirens. You know, because Justice League should have been the movie. If they don't go see Justice League, they're not gonna go see Gotham City Sirens. I feel like they should still make the Batman movie and have Nightwing introduced in that movie, and then still make the Nightwing movie, because I feel like he definitely deserves a movie. They have a pretty good team, you know, Lego Batman director, on that movie. Yeah. So I would definitely like to see that movie happen. So I think that's, and then Flashpoint. I really think Flashpoint needs to happen. That is a movie. If they do want to make some changes, that is a good, perfect movie to do that in, because you can have Flash make all the changes you want. So. And that movie is so good. We need to do our live stream watching it. Yes. But that movie is amazing, and that's why I kept saying that it has to be a live action movie. Like and that one you better not have Danny Elfman compose it. That movie deserves. That movie deserves the most epic soundtrack of all time. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, if you make a Flashpoint movie, you need to make it good. Okay.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne.
Yes, exactly. I honestly think they really need to make Flashpoint movie. If that one is awesome and amazing, I think you're back. You're back in it. But yes, please don't have Danny Elfman compose it. Nothing against him. Well, I mean, maybe something against him, but he's just not the right guy to compose the music for Flashpoint. I'm sorry. I mean, I would love Hans, but apparently I heard that he's done. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, who else? John Williams? I don't know. I guess he would make a pretty good score. I don't know.
He's getting up there, though. Bless him, isn't he?
Oh, shoot. Okay, we need another... Oh, Junkie? Maybe get Junkie?
Alan Silvestri's great. He did Captain America. He did Avengers.
Rupert Gregson-Williamson, who did Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Okay, get him. Get him on Flashpoint. Make Flashpoint. But yeah, those are the movies that I think should happen, the ones they need to get rid of. And then Batgirl, even though I would love to see Batgirl, I would love to play her. That one is not really one that we need to see. That one can you can put it on the back burner. It's like, okay, let's make these other movies, see how everything goes. That one can happen later. But that one, I feel like it should not be a priority. Priority should be Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, Man of Steel 2, Batman, Flashpoint, and Nightwing after you introduce him in the Batman. Shazam, I would scrap Shazam, but since they're already going to make it, I would just put The Rock in there instead of having his own movie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but just The Rock alone is not going to make money. I mean, you had both The Rock and Zac Efron in Baywatch, and that did it really make that much money? I don't think so. So
no, I think it flopped, to be honest. I know some people that actually do really like that movie, but I didn't see it, so I don't know.
So it's just dumb to just like bank on his name, like when it really hasn't really made that much money. When you had him with Zac Efron, who you would think like, oh, those two hot guys, make money. No. So please don't make Black Adam. I just when I heard that, I'm like, why?
It's star power, it's money. Itzmoe, you have a fan from Romero329. Itzmoe for Batgirl. I agree. Didn't you cosplay as Batgirl recently?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. If you look at my Instagram, you can see pictures of me as Batgirl with the red wig and everything.
Yeah.
And I was in an event. The first time I dressed up as Batgirl, I was in an event. It was a charity event, and Zack Snyder was right there, so he saw me as Batgirl. But I didn't talk to him or anything because it was an event. It was like a walk. Like he was doing that for his daughter that passed away. So it just wasn't appropriate for me to like go up to him and like fangirl or whatever. So I just kind of left him alone. But I was like, oh my god, Zack Snyder just saw me dressed as Batgirl.
You really wanted to go up to him and just say like lean against the wall, like, so I hear you're making a Batgirl movie.
Even though he's not the one that directed, but I mean, he knows the people. Yeah. And for you Zack Snyder fans, you guys should check out, I made a thank you Zack Snyder video with a bunch of other fans and on my channel. So if you go to my channel, it's like one of the most recent videos in the last week or so. Zack Snyder did see it because somebody I know, we're on Vero, that app that Zack Snyder is on, and he only follows like 20 people on there. So one of those 20 people he follows contacted me because he knew I was making this video, and he's like, oh, let me share it with Zack. Hopefully he'll see it, because I wanted to show appreciation for the awesome things that Zack has done. I know he's not perfect, but I mean, has done some great work. So I just wanted to show him some love, especially because he has, he went through some horrible stuff. So yeah, I made the video, and then the guy shared it on Vero, and he tagged Zach. And then I looked later, and Zach had liked it, so he saw the video. He didn't comment or anything, which is fine. I didn't expect him to comment, to follow me or anything. As long as he saw the video, that's all I wanted. So I was very, very happy that I'm like, at least he saw like our message, because I included a lot of messages from different fans that like just wanted to show appreciation for Zach and what he has done. So yeah, just wanted to show him some love, because I had seriously seen Zach in person several times, but I've never talked to him. So this is my way to like be like, this is everything I wanted to say to you that I haven't been able to say to you in person. So yeah, you should check out. Go to my channel. Thank you, Zack Snyder. It's in the like last 10 or so videos that I posted. So check it out. It might make you cry. A lot of people told me it made them cry. So just be ready.
And Romero says that he was actually part of that Zack Snyder video you made. So that's pretty
cool. Awesome.
I guess my thank you is that I loved 300, I loved Watchmen, and I loved, what was that animated film he made? The Legends of Ga'Hoole? The owl movie he made.
One. Really?
Yeah, I really like those 3 movies.
Okay.
So that's my thank you. Okay. I completely agree with everything you said about the extended universe. I think that, I mean, there's talks that they're going to do like a standalone Joker movie compared to like.
Oh yeah, I feel like they can get rid of that one. They can get rid of that one. That's not necessary, honestly.
For me, I think DC's problems at the moment, and some are going to really disagree with me right now, is them trying so hard to tie everything in under one universe. Can we go back to the simpler days of superhero movies where you just have like an awesome standalone movie? Like, apart from like the first like opening minute and closing minute of Wonder Woman, that's pretty much a standalone movie, and I loved it. Matt Reeves, one of my favorite directors, who directed the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, is wanting to direct his own Batman trilogy. He doesn't want to use Affleck. Affleck's saying that he doesn't want to be Batman. I'm quite happy to have a completely separate standalone Batman trilogy, kind of like Nolan's again. Maybe Reeves, because I loved what he did with the character of Caesar in the Apes movies. I can absolutely see him just blending to the world of Batman so well. I really want to see those movies. I don't necessarily want to see them constantly tied in. Joker movie, I'm excited to see if it's done right. So either we're going to have this situation where you're going to have your main body of DCEU movies and then entirely separate movies. But I don't know. If they are going to course correct, Flashpoint is definitely the one to do it. I mean, if you look at X-Men Days of Future Past, for example, that kind of X-Men movie franchise is revered for having like so many plot inconsistencies and continuity errors, and they kind of corrected all those with the end of Days of Future Past, because they kind of just like wiped the slate clean, which they then ruined with their very next movie, X-Men Apocalypse, which was really annoying. But if you were going to do that with DC, if they did want to reboot, if they did want to take a few years off, do Flashpoint, and then you could still technically tie it into that old DCEU. I really don't know. I do not envy the creative team over at Warner Brothers right now, trying to get this thing back on track, or try to.
They need to hire me. That's the thing. They need to hire me. I know what's going on. I live like 20 minutes away from Warner Brothers. I can be there right away. I can be the Kevin Feige of DCU.
Please,
we need some girl power in there. Here's another suggestion. Get rid of Joss. Okay, obviously he wants to sabotage DC. Make Patty Jenkins the director of Man of Steel 2. Okay, obviously she's gonna do Wonder Woman 2. I feel like she would be great for Man of Steel 2. And then just make her direct as many DC movies as possible. And then have me be as the Kevin Feige of DC, and it'll be great. So.
There you go, folks. You heard it here first.
I will fight The Rock. I will fight The Rock. I'm not scared. If he wants a freaking Black Adam movie, I'd be like, no, I will pay you to not be in a Black Adam movie. That's what I would tell The Rock. I will pay you to not be in the movie. How much do you want to not make this movie? Okay, that's what I would tell him.
Hey, you know, dreams can happen. Like, you wanted to meet Henry Cavill, you made it happen. Yeah, like, never say never, right?
Yeah, this would totally get The Rock. I told him, okay, The Rock, I'll be like, okay, if you do not back out of this Black Adam movie, I'm going to replace you with Vin Diesel. He will lose it. I'll be like, so we need to not make this movie, okay, The Rock? If you want to make it, okay, we're going to make it, but we're going to make it with Vin Diesel. So no Black Adam movies. So that's what I
Very,
would say
very
to him.
topical with the Fast and Furious franchise right there. I like it.
I know they hate each other, so I
Yes,
know
yeah.
that would hurt him. That would hurt him.
Uh,
So I don't need to fight him physically. I can get him right here where it hurts.
yes, strike right for the heart where it hurts the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we've pretty much talked to death about this movie at this point. I think we've pretty much covered everything we can. So I guess we'll wrap up now. We're going to have like the link to your channel in the description, everything like that. But do you just want to give one last shout out to your channel? Tell people where they can find you and everything like that.
Yeah, I have my main channel is Itzmoe, Itzmoe, as you can see. And then I have a 90s channel, 90s Kids Forever, but I haven't really uploaded on that one recently. But also, if I would really use your help, I just entered this like a contest for a dream job where I basically would get paid to be in Cancun to make videos for Cancun.com for 6 months. I love traveling, so I was planning on leaving the country for a few months anyway next year. So, but if I could get paid to do it, even better. So I would really appreciate your guys' votes. You can vote once a day until December 24th. And it's the most recent video I just uploaded on my channel asking people to vote. The link is in the description of that video. So please, if you could vote, I'd really appreciate it because I want to get out of here for a while. I want to escape Trump's America for a little bit and make awesome videos in Cancun and go explore. So thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, absolutely head over to Itzmoe's channel. Give her a subscribe if you haven't done already. Also subscribe to our channel, Cinema Savvy. We upload movie reviews. There's trailer reactions from myself. There's a bunch of other content as well that we upload, like movie news. We have a show called Battle of the Brackets, which we haven't got back on track with recently, but we are planning one of those for the month of December with Star Wars. Lots of awesome stuff. So hit the subscribe button, share, spread the word, all that good stuff. Thank you again, Itzmoe, for joining me with tonight. I know it was very last minute us getting this on track, but I'm glad that we could get this video out there. It was a lot of fun. And until the next video, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.